Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today's coffee hour and start of our Pathway to Gold webinar series. Very excited to have a guest speaker today from New Haven to talk about the work they're doing. Excited to have you all here. And yeah, I think we're gonna get started. All right. Well, first I'll introduce our guest. We have Velma George James. She's the coordinator of homelessness services in New Haven. She's going to be talking about the regional work that New Haven is doing with neighbors on homelessness services. And we'll also go over a couple other examples from other towns. And we'll have, as usual, plenty of time for questions at the end. If you have anything that comes up while the presentations are ongoing, feel free to put it in the chat and we will make sure to answer it. All right. Can everyone see this screen share?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So this is the first of our Pathway to Gold webinar series. As you might know, we launched Gold certification last year in 2023. And so this is just a series of different presentations, sharing examples about what your municipality, tips on how to get to Gold. And we're starting with action 8.6, collaborate with other municipalities on sustainability actions. It's a mouthful, but it's really important, a part of the program, collaboration, working with our neighbors. So we just want to highlight some examples and how you can go about that. So I'll give a quick overview on what's coming next in the other Pathway to Gold webinars, talk about Action 8.6 requirements, a few success stories, including our guest speaker from New Haven, who will share more in detail about that one, and then some general tips and resources, and then questions. So, like I said, these will feature different parts of the Gold certification requirements and how to achieve those different things. Other feature topics are going to include Action 1.1, optimize for equity, Action 1.3, develop and adopt a statement on equity, the climate leader designation, and then just strategies to rack up those 750 points. So Action 8.6, these are the required elements. There has to be multi-town collaboration through existing or new partnerships. To earn credit, your municipality has to have a leadership role or be actively participating in this work, such as initiating a project, physically hosting the project, or contributing funding. It has to have been implemented within the last 3 years, and it has to align with another sustainable CT action that is an implementation project type action. So what doesn't qualify for 8.6? Holding events with other towns or cross-promoting events, educational and outreach campaigns, doing inventory or assessment exercises, regional plan development and regional plan adoption, policy changes, and participating in regional working groups or meetings with other municipalities. So basically, we want to see something more tangible, a program being implemented. All of these things listed here are great steps to get to what might qualify for an 8.6, but these activities in themselves won't quite do it. So just a couple other examples of success stories. Chester did a food scraps composting program in their school cafeterias. They worked with Essex and Deep River, so that's the multi-town collaboration piece. The leadership or active participation in this case was providing funding, which they secured through the Community Match Fund, which is a sustainable CT grant program, and with ARPA funds that the municipality received. And then their partners in Essex and Deep River contributed funding from their mini bottle funds. This was implemented in 2023, or excuse me, 2023, not 2003. And it aligns with the Sustainable CT Action 9.4.2, which is implement a compost or food waste collection program. And we have another example, Bristol and a new open space acquisition. So Bristol worked with Burlington, and they were also supported by the Environmental Learning Centers of Connecticut. They applied for and received a DEEP grant to purchase new open space. So Bristol, with the Environmental Learning Centers of Connecticut, made that open space acquisition. They worked with Burlington, of course, on the coordination. Burlington has helped with providing permits for the ongoing management of the space, the Pigeon Hill Preserve. The grant was received in 2020, and it opened to the Pigeon Hill Preserve space opened to the public in 2023. And this aligns with the Sustainable CT Action 3.4.4a, which is acquire new preserved open space. And then in New Haven works with neighboring towns of Hamden, Milford, Shelton, and then also supported by the Greater New Haven Coordinated Access Network. They provide shelter beds and space for individuals experiencing homelessness. This collaboration was active in winter 2023, and it aligns with Action 12.4.2, which is our homelessness prevention category. So I'm going to stop sharing and hand things over to our guest speaker to talk more about her work and this collaboration. Velma, you can take it away.
Thanks, Kate. Just trying to get my stuff set up here. So, as Kate mentioned, I'm Velma George James, and I'm the coordinator for homeless services with the city of New Haven. And I wanted to just share a little bit of context before I kind of hop into what it is that we're looking at, that the stuff we're doing. And wanted to just begin by acknowledging the fact of how things changed so much since COVID. We've really seen a market increase in the number of homeless, the number of evictions throughout the state, and even more specific in our region. I'm trying to get my screen situated here. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, and just a few statistics just to share with you. You know, nationally, there's like a housing shortage of 3.8 million units that has been reported. Also in between 2001 and 2021, we saw the median rents increase by 17.9%, whereas with the income, it only rose by 3.2%. So that in itself has been, you know, just setting the stage for what we're dealing with as we look at the housing crisis we're facing. In New Haven and Milford, there's a vacancy rate of 1.3%, which is compared to statewide 2.1%, and nationally there's a vacancy rate of 5.6%. Again, just really wanting to highlight the what we're seeing here on the ground. And then the thing that was most important and incredible to me was, you know, the cost of rents that we've seen, how it's skyrocketed since the pandemic. And for a family to be able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment, they need to be making between $28 and $32 just to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. And we know a lot of our families are on fixed or making minimum wages. And so we're also seeing that 51% of our households in New Haven are cost burdened. In addition to that, what we're seeing the disparities between Black and Brown people as opposed to people that are white. The bulk of our folks that are homeless are Black and Brown. And then like I said, 69% of the folks are Black and Brown. Another really interesting statistic that we're seeing is 5 out of 10 unhoused individuals are between the ages of 50 and 65, that was really mind blowing for us when we looked at that whole that scenario. So as a result, we at the city, we've developed a equitable framework to be able to address homelessness within our city, with our core mission being to promote the elimination of homelessness in New Haven. And this extends beyond sheltering to creating pathways to deeply affordable housing options and opportunities to encourage self-sufficiency within a framework of racial justice and equity. So, as I mentioned, since the pandemic, we've had to really pivot and really hone in on what services we needed to implement and what partnerships we needed to forge to be able to address the crisis that we're seeing today. And one of the things we did was we shifted from just managing homelessness to really actively pursuing options such as how really focusing on the housing piece. We also increase our low barrier services, because during the pandemic, we found after the pandemic, with the increase of folks being evicted, we had a lot of people staying outside. And because of the restrictions, the COVID restrictions, we had to shift away from our traditional congregate shelter model. And so as a result, it decreased the number of beds within our region. And we knew that it was going to take us a while to scale up to be able to address the bed situation. And so one of the things we did was we created more services for people that were unsheltered, which included navigation hubs. We created these navigation hubs where these are places that people could stop into during the course of the day, from morning till evenings, 7 days a week. We have a continuum of navigation hubs where in different parts of the city where people can go in and receive services. We also started a mobile shower van, which we call the one-stop pop-up. And that includes not only showers, but it also includes a partnership with the Yale Community Health Van and Cornell Scott, where we provide medical care as well as low barrier services, harm reduction services for people. In addition, as we started to pivot, we really looked at, how do we create more deeply affordable units? Because a lot of times we have a lot of development going on in New Haven, but a lot of development, they do market rate apartments, and they usually say that they have some affordable units, but we recognize that the affordable units still are not affordable for our families and individuals. And so we realized that we needed to ramp up production of our deeply affordable housing units. And when we talk about deeply affordable housing, we're targeting people that have a monthly income of like $700 to $800. And that's usually people that are on disability services. Also, part of our pivoting during the pandemic was also engaging with our neighboring municipalities to address homelessness. And that's kind of why we're here today. So one of the first steps we did, we were doing the warming centers and sheltering, and coordinated with our neighbors in Hamden, Milford, and also in Shelton to provide warming services and shelter services for families and individuals. Another new thing that we've started doing is we have a new regional partnership where we're working with different partners to be able to address encampments, and we focused on the I-95 corridor. So we have outreach workers that are working from Milford all the way up to, sorry about that, guys. We're working with folks from Milford to Madison, where we're addressing the encampments throughout that area. So all the towns that are on the I-95 corridor, and we're actually coordinating also with the train stations along that route to be able, because we're finding that more and more people are stopping into the train stations as a way of, getting some refuge. In addition, as part of our 5-year plan that we did with the city of New Haven and part of our pivot, what we also did to be able to ramp up shelter beds was that we purchased a hotel, the Old Days Inn Hotel on Foxen Boulevard here in New Haven. And we would be able to serve up to 112 individuals in a non-congregate style shelter. And at this shelter, what we do is we provide a comprehensive range of support services and site. And what we're doing too is integrating primary care, behavioral care, and shelter services. And what's unique about this program also is that we're able to keep people with their pets. And that was one of the major things that we've heard in the past when, trying to bring people inside from encampments, is they didn't want to separate from their pets. And so with this new hotel project that we just embarked on about a month ago, we're able to include individuals and couples with their pets. So just to give you a sense of the 5-year plan that we started a couple of years ago, one of our key things is to garner stakeholders' commitments to support deeply affordable housing units. And one of the steps we've taken is just recently we've been involved with the SCROG for a while. And in a couple of weeks ago, we actually took a tour. The SCROG sponsored a bus trip with the different municipal leaders in this greater New Haven region to visit several shelters and transitional housing programs. And, I also had an opportunity to talk with them about some of the work that we're doing and asking for even more help with warming services, because we're seeing that we have a lot of people coming in to New Haven from other towns for warming center services during the cold season. And we also looking to talk to them about tiny houses. We realize in New Haven, we're pretty landlocked, but we recognize that a lot of our neighboring towns do have a lot of open space, and, just wanted to be able to work with them going forward on tiny house communities. Here in New Haven, we're actually working on a tiny house community to serve as a model for other towns to perhaps duplicate or, even improve further. So that's one of the goals that we're actively working with, is really connecting with our partners on emergency services, as well as planning for to create more deeply affordable units. Because also too, a lot of times towns think about shelters, but we want to look beyond sheltering into more permanent solutions for families and our individuals and youth also. And so our plan is to really entrench even more into partnerships with the region, whether it's through the SCROG or whether it's through CCEH, but just using all opportunities to come together as a region to be able to provide more deeply affordable housing options for people. So that's part of our shift from addressing the needs now, but also planning for tomorrow. How do we work together? So I know that was kind of quick, but any questions or thoughts? I'm open.
Thank you so much for sharing all this. This is really great work. I have a question for you, if you don't mind. You talked about working with the COG, named the other towns. Just like your experience or maybe tips for other towns that are looking to build these sort of collaborative partnerships. How do you find those partners in other municipalities? Like, how do you start?
So I'll give an example of Hamden.
Mhm.
I work in New Haven, but I actually live in Hamden.
Okay.
And I reached out to our town officials to say, hey, what are we doing for the homeless? And, they were saying that they would like to do more, but they weren't sure where to begin. And so I worked with them to be able to stand up their first warming center so that they would be able to house families, not families, but individuals during the winter months. So we work to, we work to help them build capacity to be able to do so. Right now, and I also connect. We also work with the CAN, the Coordinated Access Network. So in tandem with the CAN, usually I would offer technical assistance of the how-tos, and the CAN will do the financial pieces and the data collection pieces. That's how we usually work together with them. Right now, we're actively reaching out to West Haven to be able to get them to start considering even beginning, and usually we say to towns, just begin with a warming center, because you do actually have homeless people in your towns. And we have data to show that we have people from these towns that are using our services. And the warming center is a way of, just beginning to get an idea of the population and the needs within your community. That's a good way to start, and then go from there.
That's great. I'll finish up the presentation, then we can keep answering questions. I apologize. I got some chats that I didn't see, that my slides were not progressing. So you'll get them sent out after the webinar is over. But just to wrap up, sort of, if you're interested in doing this in your municipality, where do you start? I'm not going to try and share my slides again, because when I was prepping before, I got kicked out of Zoom, and I'll just speak, and you'll get all the slides later. So if you have something that you want to work on with another municipality or a regional project interest, but you don't really know where to start, where can you start looking? Sustainable CT, we're always a resource, and because we are constantly talking to municipalities, we might be able to help sort of matchmake and put you in touch with someone from another town that has a similar interest. Your COG might also be a good resource. And then, as Wilma was just saying, just maybe reaching out to another town and asking if they're interested. Another recommendation is give yourself plenty of time. These are big projects that can take a long time to put together, and find resources and figure out, especially when you're working with multiple different municipal systems of decision making. So just give yourself time. And then last, on the application certification side of things, Sustainable CT really recommends talking to us first when you're embarking on an 8.6. We're happy to give preliminary feedback or guidance. We want to make sure that you're set up for success, and we can give that early input to help. Yeah, so that's the presentation part, and I think we're ready for questions. And I see there is one from Margaret in the chat. Margaret, do you want to share your question? Come off mute.
Sure. I have a question for Velma. Velma, thank you so much. I loved seeing your slide, which had all the options of different housing initiatives or possibilities. And I'm like so interested in tiny homes myself. Um, can you share with us a success moment or story that you had with another town as you're working on this, with another municipality?
Sure. Love to share with Hamden. Again, I live in Hamden, and I remember reaching out to the town several years ago, talking about how to best solve the problem. I actually reached out and offered my services as a town resident, and just shared that I was be willing to work with the police on because we started getting a lot of encampments crop up in the throughout the town, and they had been following what we were doing in New Haven with encampments. And I spent some time with they have like with the police on how to engage the residents in warming centers. We spent some time with that, and also they were able to connect with one of the providers within New Haven, our Columbus House, to be able to do outreach, because they didn't have the capacity to do outreach in the town, but they were able to connect with Columbus House, who's located in New Haven. They contracted with them to come out and do outreach and engagement here in the town. And in addition to that, then we were able to move from just doing outreach and engagement to actually starting the first warming center. And they've been able to do the warming center for a few years now, where to the point now that where they at first, when they first opened, they were only doing cold weather for 1 month, from January to February, because just the thought of it is overwhelming for people, for municipalities, just the thought of doing it. But the key is being able to have an agency that can implement. That's the key. And so they were able to partner with Columbus House. And I also have an outreach worker that works with me at the city of New Haven. And I was able to have her work with, because there was a period of time where Columbus House, there was 1 year Columbus House couldn't do the warming center. They were in transition with their leadership. And so we worked with the town of Hamden to be able to actually stand it up without Columbus House. And we walked them through how to be able to hire people within the community to be able to do the work. And it was very successful. They were able to, their actual community service administrator was the one that was overseeing it. And so we walked them through the whole process. And we had a successful year that year. And after that, they've been able to reconnect with Columbus House to continue to run the warming center. And now we're seeing an even bigger commitment on the part of the town, in that now they're opening for 2 months as opposed to just 1 month during the winter.
Now, Velma, when you say warming center, pardon my not, what exactly is a warming center? So reason I ask is I live in northwestern Connecticut, Litchfield, sustainable field, and we have when it's cold, like today is nasty cold, or if there's a power failures, we open our high school, the locker room, the gyms but that's not really a warming center from what I'm hearing from you. It sounds like warming center is more like a 24-hour center, right?
Yeah, no, not necessarily. So usually what we do is it's a space, like you said, a high school gym. And the key thing is that it should be an open space with access to bathrooms. And usually with the warming centers, they're during the cold weather season, they're in New Haven, we do from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Some towns may do from 9 to 6. It depends on, that town in particular. But it's something that's, a space that's available to people that are unsheltered for, each night during the cold weather season. And then other piece that's really key when we select a space for the warming center, it needs to be a space that could be open and not interrupt regular flow of business, because sometimes the governor, he declares extreme cold weather protocol. And when he does, what that means is that that space will need to be open 24 hours for the determined period of time. And so that's why, like with churches, we would usually say to churches, if you want to do it, it needs to be a space that will not hinder your operations if there's extreme cold weather protocol. And it's the same thing too for like a high school gym. We wouldn't recommend that as a warming center because, again, if there's extreme cold weather, so most times they will use like a space that's maybe like a community space that's not in use regularly, but just a safe space where people can go in out of the elements, get warm, get a hot beverage and something to eat, and charge their phones. That's a key thing, or their tablets.
That's a good point. Thank you. That's really helpful.
You're welcome.
Anyone have any other questions or?
I have one, Velma. Thank you again for all you're doing. It's extremely impressive and seems overwhelming just from sitting here listening to you. How instrumental has been the commission's say on zoning or planning within the cities to help expedite your projects? I mean, how important are they in the process?
Great question. They are key in the process, especially with the project that we're looking at to do tiny houses. So we actually had to do some work on our ordinances to be able to allow for, and what they call it is auxiliary dwelling units. And so they had to go through all the different zoning codes to be able to make that option for us. And so we worked really closely with them. And in addition to helping us with tiny houses, it was seen as an opportunity to be able to help property owners to be able to bring in extra income to their properties also, when it comes to whether it's homeless or college students, but to be able to offer those options. So the zoning piece, so to be able to even just do the ordinances, that was part one. The other part is being able to select a space that would actually be within, that would be acceptable in as far as zoning for that space. And so we work closely with them whenever we look at doing a site plan. They're at the table with us when we do site plans, whether it's for the hotel that we purchase, for tiny houses. And then we're also looking at doing some permanent supportive housing. And so checking in with them first so that we don't have to pedal backward, having them at the table from day one, looking at the sites, doing site plan reviews with us, before we even think about a shovel in the ground.
Are they a willing partner for the most part?
Yes. Yeah, we have an awesome team here in New Haven.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura had a question in the chat. Which communities are working with you? Laura, was that question for Velma or?
Yeah, yes, it's for Velma.
Okay, great.
Which communities are working with me as far as just anything regarding homelessness?
Yes, yeah.
So right now we have close relationships with Hamden, Milford, and Shelton. Those are solid relationships. And we're also working now on forging a relationship with West Haven, and also Woodbridge is also interested in learning more and seeing how we can partner. And as a result of the SCROG, I mentioned that the SCROG bus tour that we did a couple of weeks ago, I was able to connect with the, I guess their first selectman in Madison, or it's a woman in Madison, and also in, there's another town up on the shore.
Saybrook.
So we, what's that?
Old Saybrook. Guilford.
Not, yeah,
Guilford.
not also.
No.
I think it may have been Guilford. Yes, Guilford. It was Madison and Guilford connected with those two leaders, and they're interested in talking more.
Now,
So
when let me ask you another question, please.
Mhm.
When you talk about standalone, are you talking about like a homeowner that decides to put up a tiny house and then rents it to students and uses it for homelessness? Is that what you're talking about as a standalone?
with the accessory dwelling unit,
Yes.
yeah. So it's not necessarily standalone. There's some, I don't remember all the intricacies of the legislation, but from what I remember, it could be an addition to your extending, like sometimes people have a garage, you could build above the garage, or it could be like a freestanding space. Of course, there's still zoning implications, with whatever it is that you do, but they work really closely because, and one of the reasons they're really trying to be creative is because we have such a gap in available units, and just trying to find ways to be able to increase access to units for our families and for our individuals.
Now it's also like maybe like an in-law setup. You're talking.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the village, the tiny house village, do you have it in New Haven?
We're working on that right now. We're, developing, going through site plans, and,
You haven't decided on a site yet. You haven't.
we do have a couple of sites in mind, but,
Okay.
not for public, because we're going through all the preliminaries first.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much. You're doing
You're
great work.
welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Susan, did that clarify? I saw you had a similar question in chat that an accessory dwelling unit can also be known as an in-law apartment.
Correct. Yes.
Great. Do folks have any other questions, either for Velma about the work she's doing, or questions about ideas for 8.6 projects, or any sort of regional stuff that you're working on now that maybe you want to try and find additional partners, or that you just want to share?
May I ask another question?
Yes, of course. Please.
Yeah, we're looking to, all this information is great, but we're looking to achieve certification. And so I think maybe I need to talk to someone, about certification and how, to move forward with certification. So I don't, that's what I thought today was going to be more about, what we need to do, to get certification moving forward.
Yes, we can definitely talk you through that. Jess just put her email in the chat.
Okay.
And you can reach out to her and we'll get you squared away. And then just blanket contact, you can always reach out to info@sustainablect.org, and one of our team will get back to you. And yeah, that goes, Laura, for your questions or anyone else who has questions about anything. We're here to
Okay,
answer them.
great. Thank you.
Any other?
This is Catherine in West Hartford. So I think West Hartford is looking to put in an application for gold probably in August. I think what our challenge is going to be, or my personal challenge, is kind of figuring out where this action goes above and beyond just regular regional cooperation and, the active level of participation that West Hartford usually takes in regional initiatives. So I think, I'll kind of reach out to you guys, but I have a number of ideas, but I think I'm having trouble differentiating between where regular collaboration ends and the extra level of effort that Thelma's demonstrated begins,
Yeah, we can talk through all that for sure. We're happy to. Last year we had meetings with towns that just had a list of ideas and we went through all of them and said, this works, this doesn't work, this, we're happy to do that, and see where we can, put things together.
And a lot of them are not in my court in the energy realm. So I might need to bring some other people into that discussion. Yeah.
Great.
So I have a question. At the beginning, you gave a list of projects that were not part of 8.6 because they were more regional in nature. And now we're hearing all this regional stuff.
I think there might have been a communications gap because of my SlideShare tech snafu. This regional work that Velma is doing absolutely qualifies for 8.6. The examples I gave about the school food scraps composting and the open space acquisition, those also qualify for 8.6. Those are we pulled out all three.
Oh, I thought you said the food scrap school thing did not qualify.
No, it did. I apologize. That was
okay. Because I'm thinking there's a lot of regional schools in Connecticut.
No, that's my bad. That definitely that works.
Gotcha.
The things that wouldn't work for 8.6 are like holding a meeting or an event with another town, doing maybe a regional inventory of some kind. Like if you're I'm thinking we have like a tree inventory action, doing a regional tree inventory wouldn't count, but it's really going to that implementation step. Like Velma was talking about, working with these other towns on providing warming spaces, or maybe you do a regional tree inventory and that's a good start. And the next step is a regional tree planting program. So getting to that implementation step is what gets you to the right place
so
for this action.
The planning is not, but the implementation is?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And we'll share, hopefully having a copy of the slides will help clarify. We'll also share a link to the action description, and we have a long list of examples in there that I think also helps give a sense of what sort of thing we're looking for. But like we just said to Catherine, we're very happy to talk through. If you have questions about specifically what your town is doing and you want to know if it qualifies or not, we can go through all of that with you.
Thank you.
Sorry for the confusion. Susan, you have your hand up.
So if Durham and Middlefield are neighbors and they have a shared transfer station, would a project to get, let's say, solar panels put on the transfer station former dump, would that be something that worked?
I think so. We have a new action in the program this year about installing solar panels on municipal land or municipalities funding solar panel installation. So if that was a joint effort from the two towns on your shared transfer station, that seems like a good fit.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Would they then get credit under both actions?
Yes, so you get this at 8.6, you're required to submit under the aligning action, and yeah, you would get credit for both. It's one of the few times we allow that double counting. Yeah, so more points for your application, which is always nice. Any other questions or?
Hi, I actually have a question.
Mhm.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand.
No problem.
I'm wondering if there's any smaller scale certifications that are offered in Connecticut. This is all very interesting. I joined these meetings because I'm a director of operations in an office setting. So we don't own the building. It's not necessarily pertaining to the municipal certifications, but I'm wondering what more we can do and if there's any way to sort of, you know, a certification we could follow along to up our sustainability within our office.
That's a good question. I don't know of anything that would be targeted to an office environment. Maybe some of my team members have an idea.
Can you hear me? I'm testing out speakers or
Mhm.
headphones. Okay, perfect. None in Connecticut are coming to mind, Jess.
Okay.
I'm thinking of a partner we have in Pennsylvania, Sustainable PA, Sustainable Pittsburgh. I know they have some certification programs for restaurants. It might be for business community as well.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't probably be that you got Sustainable PA certified, but they might provide guidelines that are more geared that you could follow with, you know, I think it's all publicly accessible on the website. That might be interesting to utilize. And I will Google quick and see if I can put a link in the chat to see if anything's relevant. Might also check
You
Green
might also
Business
check
Council.
like, yeah, lead operation O&M, lead operations and maintenance
Okay.
is a national program through US Green Building Council for
Right.
existing buildings. There are probably some other national programs which office buildings might fit better into.
Great.
You could also, depending on what area you're focused in, like energy or purchasing or something like that, there might be a specialized program like Energy Star certification is more energy focused. And then there are other programs that are more focused on, operations or purchasing or green cleaning products.
That's really great. Thank you both so much. And we appreciate these meetings. We enjoy attending and find we learn a lot in them, whether or not we're able to implement it all or not. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Jess, is Soul Smart a municipal certification? Remember the Soul?
Yep. Yeah, also regional.
That wouldn't be helpful.
But that's a good point, and building on Catherine's point, it might be that there are segments of your operations. Maybe you want to go carbon neutral. Maybe you're interested in building electrification. Maybe, you know, there might be different segments that are particularly interesting to you.
Great.
Any last questions or? If not, Velma, thank you again so much for coming and speaking with us and sharing all the great work you're doing. Thanks everyone for taking some time out of your morning to share and hear from us. As always, reach out to Sustainable CT if you have questions or want to go through ideas or anything like that. And we will follow up with a recording and also the missing slideshow so you can reference that later. Yeah, thanks everyone so much.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all. Bye-bye.
Take care.